There are more stars in our universe than there are grains of sand on all the beaches on Earth. Think about that for a moment. Every grain of sand you have ever seen, every beach you have ever walked on, all of it is outnumbered by the stars. So, a simple question arises. Where is everybody? Enrico Fermi asked this over lunch. It's the heart of the Fermi paradox. A contradiction, high probability of life yet complete lack of evidence. The universe is ancient and immense. There's been more than enough time for life to arise, evolve, and spread across the galaxy. And there are hundreds of billions of galaxies. Many stars are much older than our Sun, giving life a head start of billions of years. If a fraction of those stars have planets, and a fraction of those planets are suitable for life, and a fraction of those develop life, and a fraction of that life becomes intelligent, then the night sky should be buzzing with activity. We should see galactic empires, hear radio chatter, or find footprints of probes. Instead, deafening silence. Our radio telescopes hear only the natural hum of the universe. We scan the heavens with our most powerful instruments, searching for any sign, any artifact, any hint. This cosmic radio silence is the puzzle, like walking into a bustling city, finding it empty and dark. The universe suggests company, but observations point to solitude. Our lonely blue dot feels even more unique, so we are left to wonder. Is our understanding of life's origins flawed? Is interstellar travel impossible? Or is there a more unsettling reason for the silence? To give some structure to this grand question, the astronomer Frank Drake developed an equation. The Drake equation is not meant to give a definitive answer, but rather to serve as a tool for thinking. It breaks down the enormous problem of where is everybody into a series of smaller, more manageable questions. It acts as a probabilistic argument, a way to organize our ignorance and to estimate the number of active, communicative civilizations in our Milky Way. Each term in the equation is a piece of the puzzle, a variable we must consider when we contemplate our cosmic loneliness. It's a recipe for calculating our potential neighbors. It begins with the rate of star formation in our galaxy. How many new stars are born each year? We have a reasonably good estimate. Next, what fraction of those stars have planetary systems? Modern astronomy shows planets are not rare. They are the norm. Most stars seem to have them. Next, how many planets per system are suitable for life? This is the habitable zone, the Goldilocks region where a planet is not too hot and not too cold for liquid water. From there, we get speculative. On what fraction does life actually arise? We only have one example, Earth. Did life start easily here, or was it a 1 in a trillion fluke? Next, of planets with life, on what fraction does intelligence evolve? Again, only our evolutionary history guides us. Was human-level consciousness inevitable, or an incredible accident? The journey from a single cell to a thinking being is long and precarious, with many dead ends. Finally, the equation looks at technological and temporal factors. What fraction develop technology that releases detectable signs into space, like radio waves? And crucially, how long do they release those signals? Are civilizations long-lived, or do they self-destruct after discovering technology? Even if thousands rose and fell, we might miss them if their communicative lifespan is just a few centuries. The equation shows the final number could be huge, or it could simply be one, us. One of the most sobering concepts to emerge from the Fermi paradox is the idea of the Great Filter. This theory suggests an immense hurdle and incredibly difficult step. The filter could be anywhere along that path. If the filter is behind us, one of the early steps is the hard one, perhaps the origin of life itself, or the jump from simple prokaryotic cells to complex eukaryotic ones. If so, we may be among the first. The universe would be our oyster. The alternative is more chilling. What if the Great Filter is ahead of us? Life, even intelligence, might be common, but destroyed before it goes interstellar. It could be a technological bottleneck. Nuclear weapons? Uncontrolled artificial intelligence? It could be environmental collapse tied to industrialization. If the filter is in our future, the silence of the cosmos is a warning. The empty sky becomes a graveyard of failed civilizations. This debate is no longer purely theoretical. Our technology has transformed our view of the galaxy. The Kepler Space Telescope and its successors have confirmed thousands of exoplanets. We went from one known planetary system, ours. Many discovered worlds are rocky. Many reside in their star's habitable zone. We're on the cusp of analyzing their atmospheres from light years away. That technique could revolutionize the search for life. We're learning to look for biosignatures, chemical fingerprints in an atmosphere that could imply life. For example, the simultaneous presence of gases, oxygen, methane. Together, they'd normally destroy each other. Their coexistence might mean constant replenishment by life. The James Webb Space Telescope is already giving tantalizing glimpses of atmospheric chemistry. Finding a robust biosignature would be profoundly historic. Even then, it wouldn't answer intelligence. A microbe-rich world wouldn't explain the radio silence. The Fermi paradox pushes us to confront our place in the cosmos. It forces fundamental questions about life, intelligence, and our future. When the data runs out, philosophy and speculation take over. And two powerful narratives have emerged to explain the silence, each painting a vastly different picture of our cosmos. The first is the rare Earth hypothesis. This idea proposes that while simple life might be common, the precise set of circumstances that allowed for complex, intelligent life to evolve on Earth is extraordinarily rare. It's not just about being in the habitable zone. It's about having a large moon to stabilize our axial tilt, a magnetic field to shield us from solar radiation, and plate tectonics to regulate our climate and carbon cycle. The rare Earth hypothesis argues for a cosmic lottery of immense proportions. It required the right kind of galaxy, the right position within that galaxy, the right kind of star, the right planetary system with a gas giant like Jupiter to sweep away dangerous asteroids, and a long chain of improbable evolutionary and geological events. If this long list of requirements is necessary, then we may well be the only technological civilization in the Milky Way, or at least one of a very small number, separated by unfathomable distances. In this view, the silence is not mysterious. It is the natural state of a universe where intelligence is a precious exception. A second, much darker explanation is the dark forest theory. This idea frames the galaxy not as an empty stage, but as a terrifyingly quiet forest at night. In this forest, every civilization is a lone hunter. The cardinal rule of the dark forest is to survive, and the surest way to survive is to remain hidden. To announce your presence by sending out signals is to shine a flashlight in the dark, revealing your location to predators you cannot see. Any civilization that is loud and naive will be quickly silenced by older, more cautious, or more ruthless civilizations. In this scenario, the silence we observe is a carefully maintained illusion. The galaxy might be teeming with life, but everyone is holding their breath. The absence of evidence is evidence of a universal fear-based policy. This theory suggests that our own broadcasts, from early radio to television shows, have been leaking into space for a century, like a baby crying in the woods. It reframes the search for extraterrestrial intelligence not as a hopeful quest, but as a potentially reckless gamble. After exploring the science, the probabilities, and the philosophies, we are left where we began, staring up at a silent sky, armed only with our questions. We have no definitive answer to the Fermi paradox. The universe has not yet revealed its secrets. We may be alone. We may be one of many, living in a galaxy that is either a vast desert or a dark forest. We might be on the verge of a great discovery, or we may be destined for a long, lonely vigil. Each possibility carries profound implications for our species and our understanding of our own existence. The search for an answer continues, With every new telescope we build, with every exoplanet atmosphere we analyze, with every frequency we scan, we are taking another step into the cosmic ocean. We are driven by a deep and innate curiosity. The quest to find out if we are alone is more than just an astronomical project, it is a fundamental part of the human journey. It is an expression of our need to know our place in the grand scheme of things, to find context for our brief, brilliant lives. Ultimately, the Fermi paradox does something remarkable. It holds up a mirror to humanity. In asking where is everybody, we are forced to ask, what are we? Are we a common occurrence, a fleeting blip, or a rare and precious miracle? The silence from the stars reflects our own uncertainties about our future. Will we overcome our challenges and become a long-lived civilization, capable of one day reaching for the stars ourselves? The quiet out there encourages us to think carefully about the noise we make down here. So the next time you look up at the night sky, don't just see the points of light. See the questions, see the possibilities, see the immense, silent stage upon which our human drama is unfolding. The universe is not obligated to make sense to us. The mystery of the Fermi paradox is not a problem to be solved as much as it is a perspective to be held. It invites us to be humble, to be curious, and to appreciate the profound strangeness of our situation. To be a thinking being on a lonely blue dot, staring into the great, silent darkness and wondering. Think deeper. Question everything. Logos Vault.